how. Okay, welcome everyone to another Wednesday Crypto Talk. Let me go live on Facebook and get things started. Live on Facebook. Okay, understand that. Let me see this. Okay. It's giving me error. Let me try again. Jordan is here as well, so let me just see if I can go again live on Facebook. Again, there's an error. Live on Facebook. Okay, now it is accepting. Let me see if I can do this. Weekly Crypto Talk on the group. And let me choose the group Crypto Vagabonds. Crypto Vagabonds, okay. And let me know if it's live, those who can see. Okay, did it go live, everyone? Okay, thank you for bearing with me.
Yes.
Okay, so now we are live on Facebook. We have more people joining. Let me go and share my screen and start the presentation for today. I think today is smart contracts. Confirm is this, if that's the subject of today, because I already got it wrong once. So
it's smart contracts. It's smart contracts.
Yeah, okay. Let me start sharing my screen before it's too late. Okay. And here we go. So as always, we do have to start with a disclaimer that all the content across all platforms on Crypto Vagabonds or Crypto Vagabonds Academy is for informational, educational, and entertainment purpose only. No one at Crypto Vagabonds Group or Crypto Vagabonds Academy Group are financial or tax advisor. That being said, this Crypto Talk occurs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. CET or 7 p.m. time of Amsterdam. If this is your first time to Crypto Talk, you'll be receiving email with a link where you can book a consultation call with me for 30 minutes. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Clubhouse. Again, nothing in this presentation or any content anywhere on any platform is to be taken as financial or tax advice. The only advice I am qualified to give to you that can be considered financial advice is educate yourself first before investing on anything else. Besides that, everything else I say here is just my opinion, nothing more. Everyone on the crypto space is known for being an expert on their area. Some people are experts on NFTs, some people are experts on programming, blockchain, smart contracts. Some other people are experts on Tezos and so on. I don't have an expertise. I'm known as the risk-averse guy, and that's because I do have one rule that I abide by. If there's a doubt, there is no doubt. Meaning, if I do have a doubt, there is no doubt I would not proceed on investing. So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about smart contracts. And it's a very common term among the crypto space. And you see this terminology all the time, and a lot of people do not know what a smart contract is. I intend to shine some light on what is a smart contract today. So today we're going to be answering what is a smart contract, how does it work, and what problems does it solve. One thing which is very important for you to know, this presentation, it normally lasts 10 to 15 minutes, which means most of the things that I do say here are oversimplified, okay? An explanation for what a smart contract is can go and can be a conversation for days, hours. So I just want to give an overview, and most of the things will be oversimplified. So what is a smart contract? I think we all know what a contract is in our life. A contract is an agreement that we do with another person or another entity or another group of individuals. And a contract is whatever agreement we have. And whenever the terms and conditions of the contract are met, we have, if we're dealing with someone honest, they would execute or do perform their end of the, or their function or their responsibility of the contract. That is a contract in our real world. A smart contract, it is a contract where the rules of the contract or the agreement, terms and conditions are written on the contract. And whenever those conditions are met, the contract enforces itself. That is what a smart contract is. A smart contract is a misnomer. The best explanation for a smart contract is a self-enforcing contract. So let's say, for instance, you decide to rent your house and you have a lock on your house that will unlock for as long as someone has a token, which is on their crypto wallet. And what they do is they do approximate that crypto wallet to the lock of your home, and the lock can read their wallet, and then the lock can verify that the token is there, and therefore the door unlocks to that person, and you can put a lifetime on that token to be extinguished by the date or the time where the contract or the rental contract is over, and therefore that person can only walk out of the house, but they can no longer walk in because the lock will just lock and not allow anyone else into the house again. So that is one example, excuse me, on how self-enforced contracts, aka smart contracts, can be used. So the name we give is smart contracts a misnomer. It is basically better if you think in terms of a contract that does not need external enforcement. It's a contract that enforces itself when the terms and conditions are met. So how does it work? That's another question we're going to be answering here. So two parties agree, and normally that party is one human being and the other party is a software. So normally we write contracts people to people. In the case of a smart contract, we are talking about a contract that is written between an individual or two individuals and a software. So that's basically the first step of a smart contract. It gets programmed on a blockchain and gets registered on the blockchain, and the terms and conditions now are transparent and visible to all the people that may want to see or look at that contract. So that's how it works. You write the terms and condition in a format of code, and you put that in the blockchain. And that's the first step into getting a smart contract. So let's say here we have two parties, a buyer and a seller. They write everything in the code on a contract. And then because it is self-executed, there is no need for a third party or a middleman or law enforcement or anyone else to push the conditions of the contract. You both agree on something, write a contract, upload on the blockchain, and then all these extra costs of the third party middleman or some other entity to enforce the contract, all of that gets removed out of the way and becomes unnecessarily, because the contract will self-execute itself. So if you replace the word smart for self-executable contract, it starts to make a lot more sense. So, and we have smart contracts, again, two parties, and the smart contracts registered on the blockchain. The contract is visible globally and will be enforced regardless of geographical location. That's another thing which gets removed out of the way. When you have a regular contract, it is particular to a certain jurisdiction. The smart contract on the blockchain has no jurisdiction. The entire globe is a restriction of that contract. So you have a buyer and you have a seller, and they agree with the terms and conditions. That gets written on a contract. Whenever the conditions are met, the contract will execute itself in a global scale, totally independent from where the buyer or where the seller may be, also totally independent of any KYC. KYC is know your customer, and none of that is required. All that's required is that the two parties interact on the same network or on the same blockchain. Now, what problems do this technology solve, which is another question we need to look at. And as I mentioned before, no third parties. That is the main thing that gets solved. And with no third parties, there is no room for interpretation. There is no way for this party to try to pay more to this guy to interpret the contract that is more lenient to her or vice versa. So the biggest issues that we have with contract nowadays is that then the contract is open to interpretation, and the person who has more influence over the third party will get the greatest advantage. So that is the first thing that I think gets solved. The total, I would say, non-requirement or no room or no possibility for a third party. As long as two persons agree, the smart contract gets written, gets uploaded, and no one else would be part of the contract. And is again, no room for interpretation. That is the biggest problem. So no room for corruption, no rooms for someone bribing someone else. That is the biggest issue that I think gets solved with this contract, not to mention also the amount of cost, additional cost on the contract that third parties require. If you look at the judicial system, lawyer, notaries, police enforcement, whatever, none of that is required. Two people agree, or a person and a software agree, and the contract will be self-executed. That's the biggest problem that's solved, and enables anyone on the globe to be able to interact with anyone else, or anyone in the globe to interact with the software, as long as both parties agree. So again, as I mentioned, no room for corruption. No one can be bribed, no one can be paid to interpret the contract or refuse to execute the contract, and so on. So those are the main issues that get solved. And again, the problems of trust. On our world, when you try to make a contract, you need to trust the person that you're contracting and the third parties. The smart contract solves that issue. It's trustless. You don't need to trust. As long as it is written on the code, you can be sure that the code will be self-executed as soon as the conditions of the contract are met. So the benefits, you have no room for interpretation. You get extreme accurate contracts. It is fully transparent. It's very secure, as long as you have a sense of what the contract says and what is written in the contract. It's totally secure. Communication, it is very clear for both parties. It's highly efficient and no paperwork involved. It is software. You don't need to worry about trust. It saves a lot of money on third parties. It saves a lot of money in terms of one being able to corrupt another. It is backed up on the cloud or on the network of the blockchain, and the speed, it is self-executed. It's not like, for instance, if you rent a house and someone is not paying you on time, you have to wait for X amount of days, and then later on you can go through this procedure and then you have to wait for that. No, none of that waiting time is possible. On a smart contract, everything gets executed instantly. At the same time that the conditions are met, the contract will be executed. So these are a few benefits: accuracy, transparency, security, clear communication, efficiency, paper bureaucracy free, no need for trust, a lot of saving of money in terms of paying third parties. You don't need to pay lawyers, such thing. It's all backed up on the network. Everything happened instantaneously as soon as the conditions are met. So those are great benefits for a contract. That's it for today in terms of the smart contract explanation. Again, we are Crypto Vagabonds. If you do need one-on-one coaching or you want to have access to future education, contact us on Crypto Academy. Again, we are available on Clubhouse, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And with that, it's time for the Q&A from each hand of the floor to you guys. And I'm stop sharing. I already see something on the chat. Oh, Virginia is back. Welcome, Virginia. And Michelle is here also. And we do have a question from Michelle. So then a smart contract can act as a scroll account with the release of payments or product linked to an executable action. This also, yes, this is absolutely true, Michelle. The smart contract does act as a scroll. And yes, as soon as the conditions are met, payment will be released. Yes, and it will be self-insured as long as all contingencies are considered. Yes, absolutely right. So back to, sorry, Virginia, I kind of greeted you and then I cut you off. How are you?
Oh, no, it's quite all right, Boef. I was just saying hello. Hello, good afternoon or good night, where you are. Hi.
Yeah. I just want to take a second. And I think a lot of people here may not know Virginia. Virginia, I think we met in Clubhouse, or you met here, Virginia. Where did we first meet? Was it here first or Clubhouse first?
I heard you in Clubhouse, and then you wrote me into coming onto a Zoom.
Yes. So another thing that so Virginia, we met in Clubhouse, and she is a Bitcoiner only person. And I think the reason why she contacted me was because of a wallet, cold card, extremely secure, extremely complex wallet. And I think we managed to set it up, and I think everything is working fine for you, I hope, Virginia. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's really easy for me to use, not difficult at all. Everything's only difficult until you know how to use it. After that, it's always easy.
Yeah. But I remember it took us a little bit over an hour to set it up on that day.
Because I knew nothing. I knew nothing. So it was, like I say, it was difficult because I didn't know. But now that I know, it's easy, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Good. Well, thank you for coming back. And if you do have a question, please just raise your hand and do ask a question. I see Maria rose her hand. Go for it, Maria. Ask your question.
I have a number of questions. I love this idea, but I guess I need to know, if I were to use this to get insurance for my properties instead of going through an insurance broker, does this work?
Yes.
Also, how do you set that up? How do you find the terms of conditions to put into the smart contract? Who draws that up? I draw it up?
So, okay, assuming you want to write a contract, first what you have to do is you have to write in plain English what you want the contract to do. There are programmers that can program that into the contract for you, and then you can make the agreement, and as long as two parties agree, the contract will be available, and you sign the contract using your crypto wallet. So instead of you, Maria, whatever, recruit with CPF, none of those things are required for the contract to be executed. All that is required is for you to have a wallet with the token or native asset of that particular blockchain. Once the terms are written, both parties agree, the contract is launched, and both parties sign with their wallet, and then the contract is there.
So for me to understand, I have to find someone or an insurance company that will go up and use this, that I will use the smart contract with, correct? And then let's say that
You are muted. I lost your audio, Maria. I think you muted yourself accidentally.
I'm sorry. So for me to understand, so if, in other words, if I want to start getting insurance using the smart contract, I have to find a company that will issue the insurance through the smart contract. And I guess I pay them in crypto, or do I pay them in dollars? Like, how does that part work, right?
So there are already contracts and companies available that do that.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to like reinvent the wheel, so to speak. There will be already insurance that does that via blockchain contracts. I'm not sure, like insurance for a particular home, but I know, for instance, insurance for loans are already available there. You just have to choose which insurance you do want. There's a directory that you can find online of like a lot of smart contracts available in different blockchains for different things.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's something that is already available for real estate. I wonder if Marcus has any knowledge on that, Marcus or Renata, because those are our real estate experts here. Do you know any like home insurance that is already a smart contract on a blockchain, Marcus or Renata?
So I know in Europe that it's been issued. I'll look for the name of the company and I'll send it over to everyone inside of the Signal group. But you have to remember too that a smart contract still has to have, because there are insurance laws, liability, things like that. You would still have to make sure that it has what they call like a binary agreement. So once again, the technology has exceeded the pace of the industry. So I think in North America, it's slow to be adopted nationwide or between the countries of North America. But I'll send it to you. But yeah, I mean, you're already thinking the right way with that. So and I'll send this out. I'll see if there's a replay. Last night, there's a large what they call iBuyer, which is Roofstock. Roofstock, which is run by a guy named Gary Beasley, took their residential portfolio and they're tokenizing it. So I can also find out the insurance company that they're using and if they're using it on a blockchain. But a good place to start too is Proppy. Proppy is like the founder of Proppy. She's like an OG in the crypto space. One of the first people that I met. She's way flying high, and they've done all their title and everything, so they'll also know about the insurance too. So I have a case manager there, so I can ask him as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, because I'm thinking of even in the future getting rent via the blockchain, right? And drawing up any type of rental agreement. Like, that's why I see myself going. But my question to you though, Marcus and Boef, is do I pay it in cryptocurrencies or can I pay it in Canadian dollars? Or how does that work, that part of it?
The blockchain only knows crypto. So you may have to find, if you want to do in Canadian dollars, you may have to find a pegged token or a pegged coin, like a pegged version of that in the crypto space. I know there are already available Swiss franc, euros, the British pound, the US dollar. I'm not sure if there's Canadian dollar. But I think there is already a company that at least those other euros, British pound, and the US dollar and the Swiss francs, they are available. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have a company that also has that in Canadian dollars, but you would have to be crypto. Smart contracts do not know fiat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the same is true to purchase a property and also to get a mortgage, I guess, right? So I'm on the road. That's the road I'm on right now. So I've got a long way to go, but thanks very much.
No. That's actually different. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Okay.
No, there are websites now. Just remind me, you can do the entire transaction in crypto. So Proppy is one of the first companies. They did entirely crypto. It was all Bitcoin that bought the property completely. And in fact, those transactions in terms of the blockchain speed, once again, outpace traditional transactions, like in a way that's just unreal, right? You've bought property before. Oh, I have to get the wire to the title company, and then the title company has to approve that. That is no mas, like no more when that happens. So you can do that. This is just my personal take, happy to talk about it. In terms of collecting rent, you need to have two people. Like if you had another vagabond staying in one of your properties, I think it would be fine to get in crypto. My recommendation is to use if it's Bitcoin or some of the other blockchains, to receive it in the local funny money, the fiat, and quickly convert it, right? That's so that you can start training people to use crypto, so that way you're operating in kind of the crypto world, but you don't make it a requirement because of adoption. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I know I'm way ahead. I always have been when it comes to my real estate, right? But it's just that it's ideas that are percolating in my mind, Marcus. So the group that you think I should join is called Property, PROPERTY.com. Is that the one I should be looking at?
No. So Proppy is a company that does real estate on the blockchain. So you actually all of your title documents. So when you acquire a property, you can put your title onto your title documents are put onto a blockchain. So as you know, in real estate, right, if there is a blemish on the title, you cannot transact, right? You have to get the clean title. So by putting that on the blockchain, you now see how the transfer of ownership has really happened. right? It's really actually a very, very smart idea. So yeah, I'm happy to send that over to you. And so yeah, so it's very innovative, and they are growing exponentially. And the founder, like I said, she's been in the space for a long time. She's originally from Russia, so she has a very kind of good experience in terms of like capital flows and different things like that. But you know, she's done transactions with people from China, from various parts of the Middle East, and um, yeah, she's doing great things. Very impressive.
Thanks, Marcus. Thanks.
Okay, so the name of the company or the website, Maria, is on the chat. It's Propy. I think Jordan just posted there. It is propy.com. So it's on the chat. You can just take a look. I think Renata wants to ask something as well. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry, I'm driving, so I'll just be fast. In the United States, I think the only company I know that was tokenizing real estate was Realty, and I think it's realty.io. And I know they're here in Florida, they're out of Boca, so you might research what they're doing. Just, you know, one more rabbit hole for you to go down on. I know they bumped into some stuff. I don't know where they're at with it.
Hold on, but Renata, just to make sure, so U.S. citizens can't participate in Realty's offerings. So the founder is a French-Canadian guy. He only markets to non-U.S. investors when you go onto the website. So he's based out of Florida, offering U.S. Real estate, but you have to be. That's a whole nother topic we can talk about if Boef wants to. So, but that is the securitization. It's not available to U.S. To U.S. people. So just be cautious. You can do it as a Canadian, but U.S. citizens cannot. But there are many other companies now. And I'd be happy to share those with you, Renata, and anyone else that are in the tokenization space.
Yes, I'd love to learn more. Thank you.
Marcus, I think we can organize an event on the Academy just regarding tokenization and real estate. I think we have enough real estate people on the Academy, so we can organize that and bring that forward to people. I think people will be surprised of how much is already there. Like, there's a lot already available. I hope that helped you, Maria, and we're going to definitely bring that to the Academy. So you're going
It does. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You know, it's kind of starting to clarify in my mind, right? It's a step-by-step thing. Thank you.
Yeah. And Didier, go for it, brother.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Boef, I just have a quick question concerning it's KYC, right? Know your customer. I noticed you said that for the smart contract, there is no need for it. I guess my question is not so much relevant to the smart contract. It's more to have your point of view. When you're confronted with KYC, does it always raise a flag in your mind?
I try to do the least amount of KYC possible. And I'm going to tell you this, a lot of people think that I do not trust the companies. It's not that I do not trust the companies. I do not trust the environment. How can I say this? Identity theft is a very common thing. It's become a lot more common. So when I do KYC, I'm literally trusting that company to be able to protect my data from hackers and ill-intended people. So it could well be that a company is very well-intended to do things. I just happen to know how hard it is for you to protect your data and how hard it is for you to protect yourself against hackers. So every time there's a KYC, I feel a bit disturbed, and I try to prevent from having to give as much KYC as I need to. Also, another thing that happens, and I think a lot of people don't pay attention to this, is if you gave KYC to a company and that company goes bankrupt, right? I think the last thing on their list of priorities on what to take care of is your data. Also, there's a very high price tag on your data. So there's also the motivation and the stimulus for the company to try to cash out on that data. So I'm all the time reluctant to provide KYC. Of course, in other cases are just at one point becomes really impossible to do that. But for instance, I just give an example to you. I have 2 devices. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I store data from my clients or members. This one, I'm talking about over $100 for a little piece of hardware to be encrypted. And someone tries to, for instance, get access to this, the information get destroyed. And I put everything here. It's already encrypted, but it already comes here with another encryption. So you need 2 softwares to decrypt this. This other one here is a managed version of that, which means it can only be open at a specific location at a specific time. But to have this is over $1,000 per month to have this. So this is the kind of level of care that I take, and I have 20 members on Academy. I don't see other companies doing that. So I just want to I'm just trying to see how difficult it is. And I think only after it became law in Europe, people start companies start to put investment and pay attention to that. But it is very difficult, and it's a huge responsibility. Like, for instance, I'm talking about just data of people having a login information in Teachable, and that's a level of security that I know is required to be able to have that information. And I think it's the last thing on most companies' list of priority until it became law. And even so, there's only 2 kinds of companies that have been hacked and companies that will be hacked. So it's virtually impossible to keep. And again, this is offline. What I'm showing here to you is offline, but I know those large companies do keep the information online. So, which gives another layer of risk. I'm very skeptical of KYC, and again, it's not distrust on the company, but I'll say is I heavily trust the abilities of hackers. So,
thank you, Boef. That's answered my question.
Maria still have her hand up. I wonder if there's any more questions. And it doesn't have to be returning to smart contracts. Any question is welcome. It's good to see you here again, Jordan. Welcome back. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
It's
been a while.
It's been a while. Great to see you here again. Thank you for the contribution and the link on the chat, though.
Yeah, thanks for all the info today. So Ethereum is the main one that does smart contracts, and they've all kind of just gone off that. So Solana, Cardano, all of them. Ethereum was the first, right, that did smart contracts, and then all the others kind of came afterwards.
Yes. I would say Ethereum is the pioneer on that aspect. There are some smart contracts that can be written outside Ethereum. Like, for instance, the example that I gave to you on the case of the lock, right? You can program a lock to receive BTC, for instance, and that lock would have a Bitcoin wallet, and then you can just stipulate that so many Satoshis granted so many days or access to the house, and the lock can. So not all smart contracts has to be written on the Ethereum blockchain or on a blockchain per se. A software on a lock can have a smart contract. It will not be transparent and visible across the blockchain, like, for instance, on Ethereum, but it is also considered to be a self-executing contract. I think there is one house in Switzerland that works like that, where you present a Bitcoin wallet with a balance of XYZ or whatever, and you make a transfer, and then you have access to the house. So the example that I gave of the lock, I found out about that before I found out about Ethereum. So most smart contracts, yes, is written on Ethereum, and most smart contracts are written on blockchain, but it's not something that only can happen on a blockchain. or is required to happen on the Ethereum blockchain. Being fully transparent, there's other ways in which that contract can be written and executed.
Okay, perfect. So it's kind of like in web programming, we have like if this then that. So it's kind of like if this and that, but on another level, I guess, right?
Yes, is if this, then that, but being self-execute, right? And I don't know how many people here, like there's one thing that I kind of see like a smart contract, and even before blockchain, I don't know how many of you, and I don't know if it's the same across the globe. I only experienced that in Brazil. But in Brazil, we have a chain, and I know it's not Brazilian because I have seen the same chain in France. It's called Formula One. Formula One is a kind of a hotel hostel chain, and what they do is they give you this magnetic key to your room. So when you check in into the hotel, you get this piece of plastic. And what happened is when your, let's say your stay, or the time period you pay for is overdue, you cannot get access anymore to the room. So that is a way to look at it as a smart contract. It is not blockchain, but it is with a microchip on the card, and they say whenever this date occur, but this hour, this key doesn't have access anymore. When I saw the lock on Switzerland done with Bitcoin, I think to me that was like the first experience with a smart contract on the Bitcoin blockchain. Then I saw this whole thing with Ethereum. But I would say the root of the smart contract could be attached to the lock. Another thing that I can see as a self-executable contract, and people don't look at it in the same way, is those machines where you put a coin and then you choose what you want, right? So you put a coin and you push, I want a bottle of water, I want a chocolate, I want a bag of sprinkles or whatever. To me, those are, in a way, a smart contract. You know that if you put the coin, the contract executes itself, which is to deliver the thing. And if you go further back in time, the telephone with a quarter in the US is a smart contract. You put a quarter and you get so many minutes. So I think like we have this thing of believing it's something brand new and only happen on Ethereum and only happen on the crypto space, but I think is digitalization of something which already had in our lives, like NFTs. Every driver license is an NFT, is a non-fungible token. Now you're just seeing that on a digital form, and therefore we think, oh, it's brand new. No, it's just something that we used to have in the analog world, which now is becoming available in the digital space. Does that make sense?
Boef, I have a question. Sorry
Yes,
to
Evelyn.
interrupt. In Puerto Rico, we've sold 3 properties in the millions via Bitcoin. Is that only possible through a smart contract?
Sorry,
How is that done?
I lost your audio. You sold something in Puerto Rico? Sorry.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico, there have been 3 property transactions in the millions via Bitcoin. Would that be done through a smart contract?
Not necessarily, no. What you have there then is Bitcoin being the medium of exchange or the unit of account in which the property has been paid for, but not necessarily a smart contract. A smart contract would be if that house would be equipped with some form of AI, like a self-driving car from Tesla, and then the person send the funds to a wallet, and then the house AI verify the transaction. Then now the house agrees to be in control or be the property of the person who paid. That would be one version of smart contract. In that case, you just have the medium of exchange used for the purchase of the house be BTC, but no, it would not be a smart contract unless, like I say, there is some kind of AI on the locks or on the house itself, and then that AI acknowledge the transaction, and then therefore the AI from that moment forward believe should be the property of the new owner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what you're saying, if I'm correct in interpreting it, is that the Bitcoin is just being used as the currency for the purchase,
Yes.
not the contract itself.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think in the future.
Can I add something?
Please go for it. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So one thing to remember, so these transactions when they're homeowner to homeowner or like a buyer and a seller, that's like Boef said, that's just the medium, the currency. A lot of times when we talk about like this, so in that particular example, probably the title, they could have used property or another service like that. That's a separate transaction from the Bitcoin transaction. Does that make sense, Evelyn? That's a totally different company than.
No, how does that work? I don't follow that.
Okay, so the ownership of the real estate, right? That would be the title, right? So you take title to the property, right? I think in Puerto Rico, I think it's the same thing, and I've actually worked there. It's el título, right, in Spanish. So you have to own that property. So to have that happening on a blockchain, you have to have that set up, and that's what a company like Propi does, right? So to say, okay, instead of going to an attorney's office and signing 300 pages of paper, no, you don't do that. All of that's done on a blockchain. The contract is completely done on a blockchain, right? Smart contracts. Clear?
All right, let me see if I understand this. So I would take the title as the document for the contract. Yeah, it's called the title. Title of the property.
Yeah.
That shows that I'm the owner. I want to sell that. I put it in a company that would put that document as a contract for sale.
Except in that case, you would go to the company, you would say, I want to sell this property and transfer title. That would be done in the example of smart contracts. There would be a company that would be set up in order to have your title documents on a blockchain, and thus the smart contract would then be executed, and it would be, the title would transfer all through a blockchain. Got it?
No, but I don't see how that works. What is it transferring?
Okay.
To whom?
Okay.
I'm gonna try it differently.
The deed, the warranty deed. So, can I jump in?
Please try not, and then if
Okay.
not,
So there's the contract for purchase and sale. That's the agreement that I'm going to buy and you're going to sell or whatever. There's the title, which is basically usually handled by a title company or an attorney. And a title company has to have an attorney. And then there's the deed, which is registered by the county records. So if I'm getting this correctly, and let me know, because I don't know property that well, let me know, Marcus. The contract to purchase and lease, you make it into a smart contract. So instead of just being a piece of paper, it's a smart contract. It's on the blockchain. It's registered for life on the blockchain, visible, immutable, eternal. The title always has to get cleared. So normally a title company does that, but in this case, property would clear title for you. So it tells you, yes, you can buy that property because there's no mechanics lien on it. There's no county liens on it. They don't owe property taxes. They don't owe whatever, electricity bills, whatever other liens may be attached to that company. But then the warranty deed, that from what I know, still has to be kept by the county records, because that's the state, and the state wants to know and needs to know who owns what. Let me know if that covers it, Marcus.
You did a fantastic job. Send me your resume, please.
Gracias, querido. Did that make sense to you, Evelyn? Did that work?
Well, I understand the dynamics. What I don't understand is the fact that you're putting a piece of property up for sale in a contract form. So do you go through the regular channels to get a buyer, and then you introduce the buyer to the contract that's already on the blockchain in order to transfer the title?
That's a good question. So that's a different question. So the answer is really no. You would most of the time you would have to work through a broker per se that is one that understands this. It's not going to be any old person or anyone that's going to do this. Now, what you can do is you can say, I'm going to do a normal transaction, but because I'm a crypto vagabond and I believe in blockchain technology, I'm going to close this transaction, and then I'm going to take all of my documents or whatever I have, and I'm going to contact a company like Proppy, and I'm going to put my ownership of this property on a blockchain, so that when you sell the property in 5 years, 10 years, and someone says, well, wait a minute, you don't own this. I said, oh, yes, I do. It's all been recorded on a blockchain. Here it is. And now you can now prove that to them. Does that make sense? Because it's immutable, right?
So basically what you're doing is archiving your ownership documents.
That is one thing you can definitely do. Now, what we described before, though, was a little bit more like that would, the assumption is that all of the parties would have been already blockchain evangelists. They understand this. So let's say Renata comes to me and says, okay, I want to buy 123 Main Street. I say, okay, perfect. 123 Main Street is already on a blockchain. I say, okay, here's my wallet address. She sends this to me, and she is gonna get, then I transfer, or I'm buying from Renata, I transfer the crypto to her. Perfect. Then I also have, through a token, that's why we have to get to that, hey, here is my title and everything, and I'm transferring that to her. And we've done everything on our cell phones, 100%. That's the future. That's what Maria was getting to. And my point when you asked your question before is the Bitcoin transaction would have been the same as trading pound sterling, pesos, dollars, whatever, right? Give me 10 Bitcoin and I'll send you this house. The transfer of the ownership would have been the same as it was 50 years ago. But now with the blockchain, and then we're talking about smart contracts, there's another dimension. So I could transact in Bitcoin, and I could also transfer my ownership, the sale of that, all on a blockchain. That's what we're talking about.
Another way to look at it, I think, Evelyn, imagine an NFT. And imagine that NFT is the title of ownership of the house. And the lock of that house would only open to the wallet on your phone that has that NFT. So then the NFT is transferred to you, and then with that NFT, you can get access to the house. That's another, I think that's where like every developer is looking at as the ideal world, whereas you look at the title, you verify the title to be authentic, and then you pay for the title is sent to your wallet, and then from that moment on, you are the owner of that property, and the property acknowledges you as the owner. Does that make sense, Marcus, as well, or not?
It makes perfect sense. Yes, absolutely. And maybe when we do the tokenization, or we can do another smart contracts, I can further explain some of this too. But I will try to share more information to the academy too.
But you would still have to register the new owner in the property clerk's office.
Exactly, which is what Renata was saying. Yes.
For now, yes. A few years from now, maybe not.
Okay, but it still doesn't, it still doesn't clarify how you, okay, let me backtrack. I put my title on a blockchain and it goes through the whole protocol, and that ensures that I have proof that I am owner of that property, correct? I got that part right? Okay, now I want to sell the property 5 years down the line. And how does that happen? How do you do that on a blockchain?
Okay, so ideally, Evelyn, you would list that on a marketplace for NFTs, and there will be a window or a click for you to say properties, and then people would verify that that property has a title on a marketplace, and then someone would say I buy, and someone would send, let's say, 100 ETH, and the transfer occurs. The contract goes to that person, and that person now is the new owner. And they can go to a notary's office if you want to use that still, and show their address, show that they're the owner of that property, and the notary would acknowledge that transaction because it's verifiable on the blockchain. Or way further ahead in the future, where we aim ideally, the notary wouldn't have any say. The house would be an AI, and the house would acknowledge you as the owner.
All right, so that means that this part of the transaction is not in effect yet.
No, the part of the notary is not there yet, but that's where everyone is aiming at.
Okay,
Well,
so that's what my confusion was, is how do you continue the process, you know, after you become the owner and you want to sell down the line? So this would be a crypto to crypto transaction. It would not be a typical real estate action through a broker, a real estate broker traditionally.
no, it'll be automated on the blockchain, on a marketplace, on a website.
Now, can it be anonymous in the sense that you would only have your code?
Yes, all transactions on the blockchain, all that's required is a wallet address. The contract does not know any human identity. All the contract does acknowledge is a valid, if you're using the Ethereum blockchain, an Ethereum address. If you're using Solana address. All that they care about is that you have a crypto address. That's it. There's no such thing as a human being for the blockchain.
Okay, so my code would be the only thing that appears on the documents as being the owner.
Precisely.
No personal information, no name, no nothing other.
No.
And when you transfer that information over to the property clerk's office, does it come with a code as well?
Yes.
Is it
So
encoded like that?
ideally, the clerks in the future would just be able to verify on the link and put that address as a new owner. Ideally, that's where it's going to be in the future.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. Did that make sense, Marcos? I jumped to. Marcos is an expert on this. He's trying to tokenize some real estate, I think.
No, Boef, you said it very well. There's one detail on NFTs versus tokens. We can talk about that another time, because and we can talk about different blockchains. So, but yes, you did a great job. Thank you.
Okay. Now we have got to get ready for another call. See you next week. That is Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for. And Renata also got to go. Okay. I think we answered everybody's question, and we are just 3 minutes to the hour. Well, that was a very deep conversation today. I think it was way above beginner's level. How was it for you, Didier, to hear this? Could you follow?
Well, I mean, yes, I think that maybe that if I can put this in there, because you were mentioning the key that will unlock at a certain time, certain day. Now, I've been confronted to these kinds of keys in Singapore in hotels. I mean, I can give you the name of the hotels, like the Swiss hotel, like the Orchard Hotel, and I'm wondering, is it the same thing?
It is the same thing, but without the extra plastic piece. So
Okay. I was
Yeah.
basically already confronted to it like 2 years prior, just actually before the pandemic, but I wasn't aware that this was already a smart contract.
Yeah, this is I would say the smart contract outside the blockchain. What we're doing now is digitalizing that, and what's happening now is like phones already have the same microchip that was on your card, and what is happening now is you can have a wallet on your phone, and that wallet will be holding a specific NFT, for instance, which would be the key for that house. And what happens is that NFT could have a shelf life programmed into it, and then when that shelf life is met, you would try, and then the NFT will no longer exist on your phone, and therefore you won't have access anymore. So yes, that is the way it's going to be in the future. I think everything is going to be done via a smartphone in the future.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Oof, I have another one. I don't know if you're aware that Blur Finance lost $600,000. They pulled the rug. The developers behind Blur Finance, a yield aggregator based on BNB Chain and Polygon, appeared to have suddenly abandoned the project and deleted its social media channels. More than $600 worth of coins have vanished in the process, and security firm PeckShield said on Wednesday.
Well, thank you for that, Evelyn. And here's again, I think is an ideal moment to say something else that like we keep saying, like we are in a recession, and the only safe place for your crypto is here. Nuri became insolvent yesterday. Platforms such as these that Evelyn brought to us are going bust. Celsius, is Celsius the name of the one in the US? Is that correct? It's Celsius?
Celsius, yes.
So Celsius also filed for bankruptcy. There's some suspicion of many other exchanges going bust. So again, thank you, Evelyn. And I just want to say this to you guys, like from this moment onwards and from a few months ago, the only safe place for crypto, it is on a hardware device, and make sure that you don't have anything on platforms and exchanges, because we don't know who will survive this recession, and it's just the beginning. Thank you, Evelyn. I saw Didier a bit surprised with the news on Nuri.
Yeah, it actually just surprises me because I just learned it from you. So whatever you have on the account, does that mean it's lost?
No, yesterday I actually made a transfer kind of 30 minutes before I received this news, and RAC could withdraw it yesterday still after they filed for insolvency. I would say just keep the heads up. It seems not to have affected anybody's account as of yet. I wonder if anyone else has any news on this regarding, I think Magnus does. Go for it, Magnus.
Yeah, they have confirmed that you can keep on doing business as usual. And Solana Bank, which owns Nuri, has confirmed that to me as well. So if you got any money on Nuri, you may move it or keep it there as you wish. I know what I wish, but it's it's a private thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, my recommendation is I would wish for everyone to move their funds out. That's the safest. It may not have affected yet, but we don't know how long that'll be there. Thank you, Magnus. I would say for everyone who interacts with me, I would say as I have said, and it's not particular to Nuri. I always say like Binance is the exchange I trust the most, and I trust them to have my funds for 30 minutes. So not your keys, not your coins. That is the law on crypto space. So make sure you get your things out, regardless of and this again, I'll be saying this regardless of what happened with Nuri. Like, this is my number one advice: make sure things get on your cold storage. But thank you, Magnus, for that insight. Yeah, we found out yesterday that they became insolvent. Just for clarification, does anyone here understand the difference between insolvency and illiquidity? Okay, so let's say, for instance, I am a bank, and I just want to say this, and then we're going to call it a day. Let's say I'm a bank, and I owe to Didier, or I have funds from Didier that is supposed to pay him, because that's what happens. Every bank is every money you have in the bank is a promise of the bank paying you that loan. It's a loan every time you deposit money in the bank. So let's say I have a debt with you, Didier, of 200,000, but I do have a house or a real estate on the value of 250,000. I'm not insolvent. I have enough assets. I have enough property to cover my debt with you. So let's say I only have 150,000 cash. I am illiquid, because if you try to withdraw 200,000, I don't have the 200,000 in liquidity in cash to give it to you. So I'm illiquid, but I'm still not insolvent because I have assets which is higher in value than what I owe to you. Insolvency means I owe you $500,000, and all that I got in property and everything else is 200,000, which is below the amount that I owe you. So that's what insolvency means. It means even if I liquidate all my possessions, I am unable to pay what I owe. So that is insolvency. Just make sure that you guys get that, because a lot of people don't have clear what is the difference between being illiquid and being insolvent. So I think that's something that's important for. Thanks. I see Maria making notes now. Yeah. So that's it. I think we passed over the hour. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope this was valuable to you. Again, time is the most precious of all commodities, and if you do take the time to be here, we appreciate that. So see you guys. For those who are members of the Academy, see you guys tomorrow. For those in Clubhouse, see you tomorrow at noon. And for those who are not member of the Academy, either see you in Clubhouse or see you next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.